Hi, welcome to Beloved Conversations, where we talk about different topics each month to help you with your mental, spiritual, and emotional growth. I'm Makahla Hamilton, and today we're talking all about financial wealth and how to attribute wealth in the Black community. And we have financial coach Stephen Stacks here to share his expertise. So, Stephen, we're so glad to have you here. We'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone. Yeah, my name is Stephen Stack. I do financial coaching. Quick things about me. I'm 100% debt free, including my home, and actually built a seven-figure net worth by the time I was 31. But my most important title is a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Love that. That is so awesome that because a lot of times when people say that they're 100% debt free, it usually does not include their mortgage as well. So that is huge. And what better person to share their expertise than someone who is 100% debt free? So we have a lot to discuss. We're just going to jump right in. So first, wealth and money in general, finances in the church is such a taboo topic. And, a lot of times, unfortunately, pastors and just people in church have taken that, money out of context and just turning it into maybe prosperity gospel or whatever the case may be. So how can Christians have a healthy relationship with money and wealth without making an idol out of money?
So we have to understand that we are owners of nothing and stewards of everything,
Mm.
and that includes money. Jesus actually talks more about money than heaven. So God has a lot to say about the topic, and we just want to steer clear of the major extremes of either poverty or prosperity, but have a correct view on things.
We love that. That's awesome. So, can you define wealth and give some examples of what that looks like?
So for me, I define wealth first and foremost as going beyond just what's in your bank account to also the person you're becoming. Because having a lot of material wealth without character just means we have more resources to harm others and even ourselves. That said, some examples of material wealth would be having assets that pay for your liabilities and or your life expenses. So think things like stocks and index funds, real estate properties, or even portions of businesses that you may own, et cetera, things like that.
That's awesome. So, many believe it is impossible to be a giver and still have money. So, the Bible talks a lot about giving and the importance of being a cheerful giver. So, how important is that concept of giving in order to, have a good relationship with money and be financially free?
Yeah, it's extremely important. I actually talk about it in a book I wrote with my daughter, who was 8 at the time, about giving being so critical for us as believers because it frees us from the clutches of guilt, and it's also a tangible representation of our trust in God to say we believe we can go further financially with Him than with 100% of our income.
I love that. And I love that you're getting your daughter involved at such a young age. I can't even imagine if I would have had a parent or just a mentor telling me about money at the young age of 8 or 9. It would have made a world of a difference. So I just think that's so awesome that you're having these conversations. There's no such thing as being too young to talk about money. So our
I
next
agree.
question is, investing can be intimidating. What should people do or know before considering to invest?
So the first thing you need to understand is that you cannot save your way to wealth. You have to invest.
Oof.
So think about a farmer. If a farmer saves seed but never plants it, things aren't going to go well for him or her. So settle that in your mind that investing is essential. Then after that, I'd say look for some of the low hanging fruit or the easy layups in investing, such as using tax advantaged accounts through your job. So work sponsored plans like 401ks, or if you're in education, 403bs, or on the federal side, TSPs, or a thrift savings plan, which many times the employers will match up to a certain amount to help you get your toes dipped in the water from an investing standpoint.
That's awesome. I love what you said, that you cannot save your way to wealth. And I think so often we are taught that, oh, save your money, which is very important. But it is almost equally as important, if not more important, to also invest, because the reality is banks aren't giving you very high interest rates. And I think that a lot of times people get so caught up on saving and they miss out on really big investment opportunities. So I think that's a huge point that I wanted to drive, and I think that's so awesome that you pointed it out. The next thing, and I also want to say we have plenty of time. I think we're coasting through this very well. So if you feel the need to expound a little bit more, please do so. The next question is, this is a good question for me because I live in New York. It is very expensive, and sometimes it's really hard to save and pay rent, and just stay on top of all of your bills. It almost can seem impossible to do both. So what advice would you give to anyone who lives in an expensive city like New York, and they feel that all of their money is going towards rent and all of their money is going towards paying off their student loan debt, and they just feel like they can't get ahead even if they tried? What are some practical tips and some good first steps for anyone who feels that way?
So I feel you there. One thing that must happen no matter where we live, so no matter where you live, you've got to have a written monthly budget. And I actually encourage you to make a monthly specific budget each month, because the reality is March is going to look different than April, which is going to look different than May or June, July, so on and so forth. So you want to have some kind of plan for your money of, hey, what's coming in and what's going out each month. Then there's all kinds of things when you just think, bigger cities, more expensive, to just keep in mind. So I always tell people, hey, consider getting a roommate. If you don't have someone that you stay with and you're paying a lot in rent or a mortgage, consider splitting that cost with somebody, or do like a Airbnb for some of your space to try to help bring in some more income. Other things that you could look to do, which actually, by the way, let me highlight this. Just a good kind of rule of thumb of what you want to spend towards rent.
Yes.
Is whatever your monthly amount is that you are paying, it should be 40 times your annual income should be 40 times more than what your monthly rent is.
That's good.
So the way to think about that would be if your rent is $1,000 a month, or let's use more of a New York type of number. Let's say it's more like $2,000 or $2,500 a month. Then it would mean that you would want to be making like $80,000 a month if you're multiplying it by $80,000 a year if you're multiplying it by 40. And if you say, oh man, my numbers don't work out that way, then hey, we want to look at, hey, can we have a roommate? Can we look at ways to increase what our income is? Look for free, fun things to do on the entertainment side. That's something that people don't think about a lot in bigger cities that can be really helpful to managing monies. And you may be saying, what does this have to do with establishing wealth? You've got to have money to be able to invest.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And I also think and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think when investing, it should be money that you can kind of afford to lose in a sense, because it's a gamble, right? So that actually brings me to my next point, that Apps like Robinhood and Webull are extremely popular right now, and a lot of people are jumping onto these apps without any real knowledge on investing. So, do you believe this is the best option? Or do you recommend seeking a financial advisor before choosing to, invest your money onto an app like Robinhood?
So the first thing I'll say is I like what these apps have done in ushering in so many new investors into the market, especially millennials. So that's been awesome to see. I personally have a six-figure amount in these apps. So between Robinhood or Webull, got well in excess of over $100,000 invested. So I'm okay with using them. The
Goals.
first thing I'd say, no, right?
That's awesome.
Um, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But what you want to do is you want to make sure you're funding those tax advantaged accounts first before getting into these, because like a Robinhood or Webull, they're not going to have an option for you to open up a Roth IRA or a health savings account or a traditional IRA, like some of these types of accounts that they give you some benefit either right now or later that help you on later in life. So you just want to make sure that you at least lay those things out. And as far as financial advisors are concerned, I'd say it really depends on the person. So for instance, having an advisor can help prevent a person from making really rash decisions when it comes to investing. So oftentimes people do the opposite of what they should. So they tend to sell when the market is really, really down and bad, and then start to buy once things have lifted. And the actual name of the game is to buy low and sell high.
Yes.
But some of the psychology of it works inversely. So hopefully that helps to clarify that.
No, I think that was great. That was great. So, what are some practical first steps people can start doing right now to work towards establishing generational wealth?
In addition to making that monthly specific budget and taking advantage and funding those tax advantage accounts, I I just want to kind of give you guys a softer thing to think about. Look to hang around people that are already at or are headed to where you want to be. So the Bible says bad company corrupts good character. And so we want to be around people that are going to not only encourage and strengthen our faith, but we also want
Mm.
to be around folks that are going to influence us towards making sound financial decisions. Because believe it or not, like just in some of these practical first steps of finding people, is you can know the right things to do and not do them.
Yep, that's so
But if you're
true.
surrounded by people who are going to be encouraging you, talking about healthy things of, hey, did you see what happened in the market? Or have you seen this potential opportunity from establishing a business standpoint? These things are going to help shape and encourage you towards building generational wealth.
That's awesome. Thank you for answering those questions. And I think those are really good practical steps. I think it's important to note that people don't have to start big, they can actually start really small, because I feel like with me, when I start small, I'm able to stick with it more, opposed to trying to do a lot to play catch up. And then I find myself having to scale back later. So I think that's great advice. My next question is, what are some practical investments you've made personally to obtain your financial wealth, for yourself and your family?
Some of the easy things that a person can do, you don't have to do a ton of research, is you can look at things called index funds as far as investing,
Mhm.
where you basically it's like you're buying a pie that has a bunch of different slices in it that are made up of a bunch of different companies or different organizations. That it's nice because it gives you diversification
Yes.
across a lot of different companies, a lot of different industries, and you get just kind of like the general lift of the market going up over time. So that was a really practical thing for me. I did look at some individual stocks as well from doing just some research, which that can seem really daunting. But what I would tell you is if you're going to get into the individual stock side of things, start with things that you regularly use in your day-to-day life. So you can start by saying, okay, well, what kind of device do I use for a phone? Or uh, what types of sneakers do I happen to wear? Or if I'm typing up a document, what am I tending to use in the document or the spreadsheet that I'm putting together for this work project? Now, some of you can start to kind of figure out what I'm saying without saying it. You can also look at, hey, what kind of streaming apps do I always use that I've had the longest? And if if I get to a pinch financially, which one am I going to keep no matter what? If I've got to cut off, if I've got 5 streaming apps and I got to cut it down to 1 or 2, which 1 to 2 are the ones I'm absolutely going to keep? And just kind of start there from a practical sense. And and I think you'll be in a healthy space. So those were things that I did, and then eventually I started to venture into real estate investing too.
Ooh, yeah, real estate is a whole different animal that I'm very interested in, but that is a different conversation for a different interview, but that's awesome. I think that it's so inspiring to see someone who has accomplished so much of what people are aspiring to accomplish. Someone who is 100% debt free, who does invest, and who has a family and has, and is giving this knowledge back. So I think, you've just been such an inspiration to everyone, and we just really appreciate the time that you've taken to speak with us. So I just wanted to, if there's anything else that you wanted to say, how people can connect with you and find you online, now's the time.
Yeah, well, I'll give one last thought, and then I'll tell how you can connect with me. So for us as people of faith, I've got to make sure that I say this: your net worth does not determine your self worth.
Mm.
Only God does that. So our identity does not come from what's in our bank account. Our identity doesn't come from how many people may be following us or how many likes we're getting, how many comments we're getting, how many people know our names. It's that God knows our name.
Ooh.
So let's settle that. And what it'll do is it'll help you in all this other stuff as far as finances, investing, and things of that sort. So I just wanted to end with that thought. As far as being able to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. My handle is at Stacking with Stack. And yes, my last name is actually Stack. But yes,
How
Stacking
cool.
with Stack. You can find me there. I also have a website that you can go to if you just want to read up stuff to just know more about me. That's stephenlstack.com. And you can always just send an email, which my email is just stephen.l.stack@gmail.com. And that's Stephen with a V. So thank you so much for having me, by the way.
Thank you so much. I'm sure you just inspired a lot of people. I know I'm walking away from this inspired. So, if you would like to catch this conversation and other Beloved Blog conversations, please go to our Instagram at BelovedBlogBK. And you can also watch our YouTube channel to just really watch this over and over again until you get it in your spirit. Again, I'm Makahla Hamilton, and this was a necessary Beloved Blog conversation. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. See you soon. Bye.